Today, it's a huge honor to be interviewing Jay White, and we both have an MBA, and I'll tell you, you are one smart cookie. I've been following you on Twitter for years, and
Great.
dude, you just tell it like it is,
Yes,
and
I
I don't
do.
know if that's because you're from Minneapolis, St. Paul, which is kind of, more representative of the real country than a lot of the dental education that comes out of Beverly Hills or rich Manhattan where there's 10 million people. You're just in down and dirty Minnesota, and you're a legend in practice management. And thank you for spending an hour with me today.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Howard, anytime I can spend time with a bald-faced Yule Brenner, we're all set.
I wish I was that handsome. He was a handsome dude with his bald head and his earrings, everything. I'd trade my house if I could look like Yul Brynner.
Oh
But
my, yeah.
hey, I got to tell you, do you know why I'm so familiar with your town?
Tell me.
Well, my sister is a cloistered Carmelite monk in Minneapolis, St. Paul for 25 years, and to go visit her to make it a business expense, I have to spend 4 hours and 1 minute doing something. So every time I went and visited her, I either stopped 3 a.m. for 4 hours and 1 minute and talked to
Great spot.
they
Great
got
spot.
and they got like a dozen people that have PhDs in organic chemistry, and they
Yep.
talk way
Yep.
over your head. And or I go to Patterson, and the CEO there was my buddy forever. And Pete Frechette, and I'd
Yep.
sit
Yep.
in his office. I'd talk from 8 to 12:01, and then I'd go drive out to Lake Elmo,
Oh,
and
the Lake Elmo Inn is out there. Great place for dinner.
yeah, and go spend the rest of the day with my sister. And I have to tell you a story, and I don't know, maybe you'll believe it. No one else believes it, but one time that I went and visited my sister, I live in Phoenix, Arizona, in the desert. I left my house, and when I got to her convent, I had dropped 100 degrees.
Yeah, easy, easy.
A
Come in
hundred
February.
degrees.
Come in February, and when we're having a nice day in Minnesota, it's not snowing and it's not 20 below, and we got sun, and that lasts for probably 2 weeks.
So give us the background in case there's someone out there living under a rock. How did you go from an MBA and get into the dental business?
Interesting story. I went to the University of Southern California for an MBA. Great spot, very good school. And as soon as I got my degree, I got drafted into the U.S. Army and went to Vietnam. Came home and grew up in Fargo, North Dakota. There was a guy there who was starting a company doing management consulting, and I thought, God, that would be a great place to do. Great people to work with, smart cookies, and they need help in the business area. So I've been doing it since then and enjoy it very, very much. I found
What year
dentistry
was that? What year was that?
1971.
1971. You started in dentistry,
Right.
and this is 2015. And I don't understand geometry or calculus. So how many years is that? That'd be 45,
40
40,
something, yeah. If I'd stayed in
40.
the Army, I could have retired by now.
Well, it'd be 44 years,
Yeah,
and you look great,
about
dude.
right.
And thank you for serving our country, Vietnam War. I just read last night that 25% of Vietnam vets still suffer from postpartum.
I read that also. The Lord looked after me. I was well taken care of. I had a great job, and I have gone back to Vietnam 4 times since then just to take pictures. I have a photography hobby that I do, and I've got some very close friends in Hanoi, of all places.
Yeah, 90 million people live there. That's 3 Californias, right?
Yes, yep, it is.
That is an
Yep,
amazing country, a
yep.
beautiful country. I love. So okay, so you and I both have an MBA. I want to start off with the obvious. You've been doing this for 45 years. I've been doing this for 28 years. We both have MBAs. What did they not teach dental students in dental school that you wish they would have learned along the way of 8 years of college while we were memorizing geometry and trig and physics? And I swear to God, I've never used geometry or algebra or physics or the Krebs. I didn't. I can go on the record to say that all of undergrad and the first 2 years of dental school, I don't think I've used 90% of that knowledge. And then
Right.
I graduate from dental school, and the first week I have to make payroll, and they forgot to cover payroll. And you think they could have at least gone over quick in payroll? And
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I mean, and you didn't know the difference between a statement of income, a statement of cash flow, a balance sheet. I mean, they just pretty much skipped pretty much everything you have to know the
How
first
to write a
week.
check.
Yeah. So you've consulted with so many offices. What are the low hanging fruit that you can talk about that they just that they don't get, or they need to focus on, or
I tell you what, we've got a great dental school here in town, Minnesota Dental School. It's wonderful. It's well known. I've been over to teach the juniors and the seniors as much as I possibly can, and spoken to the group. And I tell you what, everybody is focused on doing perfect, wonderful dental procedures. And when you really get out there and get out into the business world and you're mixing elbows with patients, that is not what's the important piece. You discover very quickly that dentists need three things to be successful. Basically, just three. One, they need competence, they need confidence, and somewhere along the way, they need to pick up with some patience. And you just don't hang out your sign anymore, and people just kind of flock to your door. It just doesn't happen that way. I started out in '71, and there was a 6-month wait to get into most dental offices, and it was a real different set of problems than we've got today. So the dentists, unfortunately, when they get their license, go to work for these huge corporations that I don't think do anybody any favors. And they try and push patients through as fast as they can to make money and keep their numbers going. And if you want to do dentistry today, I think the key is slow things down and build the one thing that nobody ever taught you in dental school, which is it's relationships. It's all about relationships and trust. I mean, if you think about what is your business is basically relationships and trust before you get to do anything with clinical dentistry. And so you ask yourself, how in the world do you build a relationship with a perfect stranger? Well, you did that with your wife. How did you do it? You sit down and you listen some more, and you ask really good questions. And if she's boring, you even pretend like she's interesting, and basically you listen and you spend time with them, and you find out what their story is before you actually get to do any dentistry, because the dentist who's coming out of dental school does not know the fact that if you're going to have a patient say yes, the patient usually says yes for their reasons and not yours. Lord knows we've got 210,000 good reasons why they should do an MOD or a crown or an implant, and they're all very good, but they're all clinical, and if all the patients were dentists, we'd be in good shape. But most of them aren't, and so what's the reason the patient wants to do this? It's their reasons, not yours. So take some time and listen to these people, and if you're new starting out, guess what? You don't have a lot of people to see anyhow, so they're going to be good people. Listen to them. Ask good questions.
I think it's funny how they, they'll go numb up the patient and then leave the room to go do nothing.
Yeah.
When they could have sat there for 4 or 5 minutes and, got to know the patient and all these things like that. And it's funny because whenever you talk about this kind of stuff that we're talking about right now, 80% of the dentist immediately says, oh, this is all the soft, fluff bullshit. I want to hear about finding the working length of a root canal. Should you screw or cement an implant? And it's like, buddy, even though I'm a dentist, I'm guilty. I want to know all about that stuff. It's the soft fluff stuff that is the whole game.
Yes, it is.
And it's the same skill with your patients as it is your staff, as it is your kids and brothers and sisters and uncles, and it's just all people. Life is just managing people relationships.
I believe somewhere along the way, from birth to the point wherever you are on the planet right now, you absorbed a philosophy of people. And they're not little tiny people you can boss around. They want the same thing that you do. They want to be successful. They want to do something really great in their life. And they want to be appreciated. And, if you can get that at the dental office, you've got a really big deal. A, as a staff member, but B, what do dentists do for a living? They make people's lives be wonderful. It's not just fillings.
Okay, they say in addiction and AA that the first of the 12 steps is to admit you have a problem. So right now you're talking to about 7,000 dentists.
Okay,
and,
good.
So of these 7,000 dentists, how many dental dentists have you consulted with in the last 44 years? Would you
Oh,
guess?
I've lost track. Over 10,000 probably.
Okay, so most of these guys are in denial. So let's start with there. You got to admit you have a problem. What are red flags? This guy's driving to work right now, and he's in his F-150 pickup truck, and he's leaving his house of 5,000, driving into the city of 10,000, where his office is about. And the average commute's about an hour, even in the rural. It's amazing. I always thought a commute would be someone living in L.A., but all my podcast people are saying they have a 71-mile commute, and it's across the plains of Nebraska. What are some red flags that this dude doesn't even know what he doesn't know, that he has problems that a consultant like yourself could fix?
Well, you should be able to come away from a patient interchange and know about 10 things personally about this patient before you do any dentistry. It means sitting down, engaging in a conversation, or someone in the office doing that, so that because the patient is wanting to be understood more than they want to understand they got an MOD on 5. And how in the world do you get someone to feel that they're understood? And this is particularly true with women. Women have what I call a Mach 1 crap detector strapped to their waist, and it's highly tuned, and they can tell when someone's giving them a line. You got to look them in the eye, you got to be genuine, and you got to talk about why in the world are you coming to the office? The dentist knows in that car as he's driving to the work, he knows A, what he's going to do when he gets there. 2, he knows how he's going to do it. Mark knows he's got technology all over the place. But what he has a difficult time saying is, this is why I'm doing this. And it's got nothing to do with money. It's got nothing to do with money. It's all got to do with purpose, why I'm here, and what I'm trying to give to my community, my people that I'm working with, and how can I help you being someone who's got some special training. And it's a bit of a philosophy piece. It can't be too long. It's got to be maybe 30 seconds, 40 seconds, but it's got to be genuine. You got to look them straight in the eye, and they can tell if it's not true. And that's the beginning of trust. And trust.
So how many people work with your website is jwhiteandassociate.com. J White, WHITE, and A&D, associate is abbreviated ASSOC.
Yeah.
How many people do you have working for you? I mean, your website, it's got a half dozen consultants.
Yes, we've got probably a team of around 6 to 10 people.
Okay, so I first started with denial. At first, you got to admit you have a problem. So now let's go to the people that are calling you. What are the reasons people are calling you? What and who calls you? Is it the dentist? Is it the dentist's spouse? Is it the office manager? Who's calling you, and why are they calling you?
Usually it's the dentist who has kind of achieved a point where he's just asking himself, I can't keep doing it the way I've been doing it. It isn't working. What am I doing different? What can I do differently?
But is that because but what is the straw that broke the camel's back? Are they missing payroll? Did the accountant say you owe the IRS $30,000? He doesn't. Is it financial? Is it emotional? Is he burned out and says I just can't do this anymore? I mean, what is the straw that broke the camel's back on these thousands of dentists that have called you over the years?
It's basically a couple things. One, it's a personnel issue because they don't know how to handle the staff. And if I look through my files, Howard, and look at the material I've got more stuff on staff issues than practically anything else. They were never taught how to handle staff issues, and
that's the hardest thing. When I went to Creighton in 1980, I seriously believed that if you got an A in calculus and physics and chemistry, those were the 3 secrets to the universe.
No,
and I lived in a library for 3 years and got A's and all that stuff. And now I realize at 51 that was just a complete waste of time. That I should have been in a fraternity dating and figuring out people. Because the chemistry and physics and geometry got me nothing. But it's all understanding people, isn't it?
And I tell you what, Howard, if you go to any gathering of dentists of any number, you will discover the conversation eventually turns to clinical dentistry and what I'm doing here and what I'm doing there and technique and da-da-da-da-da. And the continuing ed universe is focused on providing training to do a finer procedure. And I'm telling you, most of these guys and gals know how to do a fine procedure, but they don't know how to do a fine person. They don't know how to welcome someone in a warm, caring way so they feel like, God, this is the place for me. And they don't know how to keep staff either. Throwing instruments is not something that people are fond of, okay? Telling people that you can be replaced is not a good way to motivate people, and keep people long term. Patients want service, they want personal service, and they can't get it from a stranger every time they come to the dental office.
So give some low hanging what is the most common HR personnel issues, and how do you coach these dentists to solve that? I mean, is it because the dentist wants a raise and he thinks the overhead's too high? Is it, people are showing late? Is it because they're rolling their eyes whenever he says anything? What are common HR problems that you deal with? What are the most common HR issues?
Well, of course, no matter how successful the practice is, everyone wants more money, including the dentist. That's a terrible thing to say. No, there's nothing wrong with having more money, but how in the world do you earn it, and how do you get it? And the dentist feels a heavy responsibility on his shoulders or her shoulders to provide the income to pay these people. And oftentimes they get more income raises than the doctor does. The doctor actually takes a cut in salary. And the reason for that, I believe, is because the system that we're following puts the doctor in the titular leader of the band, and he shares no power whatsoever with staff. And I will tell you, point blank, unless you've got dolts as staff, you've got some great people who have ideas, and you have to give them some power to feel like they've got a contribution to make to making the office successful. I've worked with a really good system of compensating staff and making them entrepreneurs so that they're in charge of their own compensation. The doctor hasn't got anything to do with it at all. And we make sure that we do budgets and we set up goals, and when the goals are met, we pay people extra money, and it works out really well. In fact, the ones who are really, really serious about having a career in dentistry, we make them partners in the staff, partners, attitudinal partners in the enterprise, and they guarantee they'll never get another salary raise as long as they live in the dental office.
Now, can you give that away on my podcast, or do they got to call you and buy your services?
Oh, I'll tell you what, it's not possible to do it without some coaching along the way.
Right.
It's just it's a philosophy I believe in. It's a philosophy that make people successful. Make them successful. Everybody wants to be successful. So when they're successful, reward them. You don't have to give them a salary every year. You can reward them when it happens. And it's wonderful. I've been doing it for probably over 30 years, and it never fails.
So if a dentist wanted to get your coaching, how does that work? Do they just go to www.jyandassociates.com? Do they email you? How does someone contact you?
They can email me, they can call me, and I would first thing I do is want to do what I tell our clients to do. It's listen. Let me listen to you.
What's your email?
JAY at the letter J, White, ANDASSOC.com.
And what's your phone number?
Cell number is 612-599-3219.
And that's your cell?
That's my cell.
That's your cell. And how much does consulting cost? This guy's wondering, what does something like this cost? Is this $30,000, $50,000? How much is something like that?
I get asked that a lot, and each practice is a little different. You got a 4-man practice, you got a 4-dentist practice, you got a solo practice. It's different, and so I can't say specifically, but it's not that expensive. It gets benefits like you wouldn't believe. Our first-year client is usually up 20 to 30%.
But is it like you have to sign like a year contract, or is it month to month, or is it a 2-year contract, or an 18-month program, or how long is it?
No. I found that what we end up doing is a lot of working with the team. It's behavior change, it's attitudinal change, and you know what, Howard? People don't change their attitudes overnight. It takes some time. And so I usually work with a client over a year, and we're into the office working with the doctor and his team as a coach many times throughout the course of the year.
I'm like once a
More time,
month or once every six.
monthly, sometimes more often than that.
Depends on if they're
Uh,
having a crisis or they're
right,
just they're fine tuning or having a crisis.
right,
You know what I've always seen. Success is always counterintuitive.
yeah,
Every time I find a really successful dentist, they've used like a half a dozen consultants. Or the most successful office I know is Jerome Smith in Lafayette, Louisiana. He uses a consultant every year. I mean, every
yeah,
year. And all the people think that those successful offices like that would never use a consultant. Dude, that's why they're successful. Because
yes,
everybody that's very successful like me is thinking, well, if I give you $1, I'm sure I'm going to get that dollar back and some more by the end of the year. So
yes.
I always look at it like, and the other thing that's weird human phenomena is when I say something to my staff, and I'm a short, fat, bald guy, and they know I'm just like them. Take it all to great and but when someone 100 miles away from home comes, they're
Yep,
the expert,
yep,
and
yep.
people just listen to everybody that comes from far away. Because if you're from far away, you know something they don't know in Bumblebutt, Phoenix, Arizona. It's true though. Have you noticed that
Yeah,
effect?
no, it's true. It's true. The other thing that you have to kind of realize is this, mom and dad can tell the children one thing, but grandma and grandpa can do it, and they'll do it really quickly.
Yeah, and
And
I got to tell you, I carried on a very bad trait to my granddaughter. I had four boys, and I finally got rewarded. I have a granddaughter now,
oh,
and
wonderful.
I always tell everyone she's my reward for not killing my four boys. And when I was little, I had five sisters, and when we drove from Wichita, Kansas to Parsons for 3 hours, six kids can't stay at one grandma. That's just too much for a grandma. So they divided us, two kids each, great grandma, grandma, and grandma. And I always picked great grandma. And my dad and mom used to always say, "Oh, that's so sweet. You always want to go to great grandma," because she was the oldest and could barely get around and all that. And everyone thought I was so sweet that I always wanted to stay with great grandma. But the only reason I wanted to stay with her is because she always had a bag of Milky Way candy bars
Oh,
in her refrigerator. So now I'm a dentist, but I always have on the bottom shelf of my refrigerator all the crap you could ever want to eat. And when Taylor comes over, she goes running for that. Uh,
yeah, 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 yeah. Good
so,
stuff.
um,
Good stuff.
so do patients come to your office because you have a CBCT and a laser and Darth Vader standing in the corner? Is technology driving new patients?
The biggest fallacy in dentistry today is that if I buy enough technology, if I go to enough continuing ed courses that are expensive and well, Frank Spear, you got Pankey, you got Face, and you become expert, expert, expert. The greatest fallacy is people will come because of that, and it is not true. It is not true. Those are things that make you competent, and by golly, you need them, and that will help you in your confidence, which happens to come through in your tone of voice and your behavior and how you handle people. But people come to you because they want to trust you and they like you. And some small things, Howard, some small things, like are there weeds in the parking lot? Make a difference. Is it lighted? You know, is there? I was in one dental office here, and there was a dead rat under the radiator. Well, she didn't last very long. Okay, I mean, you got to pay attention to some things that people look for. It's got to be pleasant. The people have got to be welcoming, and it's got to smell good and look good. It's common sense.
I want you to have a dad talk with these young dentists that are 35 and under that won't delegate anything. They just think that they're a genius because they were valedictorian, they made straight A's, they were honor roll, and by God, I'm not going to delegate to someone who's not as smart as me. And how do you change an attitude? And then another one is I go into their office and I say, what do we have to do to break even today? No one in the office knows because the doctor, everything has to be a secret. You got to talk to them? That's cool.
No, no,
Oh.
I just somebody just came in.
They,
So go ahead.
so they won't delegate and they won't be transparent. And then there's guys like me who delegate everything and
Yeah,
everything is transparent.
yeah.
And why? So have a talk. Why do you think and how can you coach someone to delegate who won't delegate and they're afraid to show? I'm like, why are you afraid to show your numbers? Because they're going to figure out how much I make. It's like, well, hell, let him go to dental school. I don't get it. I just don't get it. So talk to that person right now.
Um, the person who feels he's in charge and must make all the decisions and everyone must follow his directions or hers is going to die young. That person has not got a life that will live long enough to make that work. Dentistry is stressful enough without having to have all this on top of your shoulders also, okay? I tell you what, the dental student who graduates, I will tell you it takes you probably 5 years out in the world to become a really good dentist. You're learning your craft, you're learning people, you're making some mistakes, and sometimes people never learn from grandma and grandpa. They have to experience the pain themselves and come to the point where, God, I got to do something different. I'm not liking what I'm doing anymore, and I just paid $300,000 for this, and I'm still paying my monthly, payment on the loan. And there are other people who, because they were brought up right or differently, think people are wonderful, they're trustful, you can trust them, they do good things, and those are the people who are most successful. They just are. And you have to let go. You just have to let go. And this compensation system I've got guarantees that people will perform, be accountable, and the doctor can relax.
So, Jay, the number one problem financially is obviously there would be too high of overhead. Do you think too high of overhead is because your staff and labor and rent and mortgage and lab and all those, you're paying too much for all that? Or do you think it's because your production and collection is too low?
When you actually start thinking about the business of dentistry, which is not something covered in the dental schools, you discover very quickly that dentistry is a very high fixed cost business. And the level of fixed costs is determined by the mind of the dentist as how he or she wants this thing to go, okay? I mean, as a dentist starting out, you don't need a grand piano in the reception room hooked to a tape recorder playing Beethoven. You just don't need that. That may be down the road a ways. But the way to make money in dentistry is to have people accept your recommendations and build the productivity of the practice given the overhead you've got. And that does not mean you need to do a finer crown prep unless you really don't do a good one, but it means that you've got to know how to handle people, you've got to know how to present dentistry. People don't buy procedures, they buy benefits, and guess what? None of them went to dental school, so the procedures will not be clinical, guess what? And so, our new patient experience that we try to work with clients is spend an hour and a half with this new patient and be happy. Don't see a hygiene check in the middle of that and focus on this patient and figure out what they want.
So you think you really do need to focus on the new patient experience and the case presentation?
There is, this is true. I've read it. I've experienced it. There's an average of $1 million of undone dentistry in most dentists' chart, unless you're just starting out, okay? I'll go home and think about it. Well, ask yourself, why are they thinking about it when they really need it? Well, it's their mouth, it's their body, they know more about it than you do, so maybe you ought to re-examine them rather than, how you're doing your case presentation. We had a $96,000 case presentation here last year by a dentist, okay? How in the world do you do that much dentistry? And the case presentation lasted probably about a minute or two, okay? The doctor, first of all, listened to what the patient was concerned about, and he said, George, let's take a moment here and tell me what life is going to be like for you if everything you want we can take care of. What was it going to be like? Well, the patient didn't talk about tooth number 5. The patient didn't talk about the endo on number 10. Didn't talk about any implants he needs. He talked about, I'd like to eat some salad. I'd like to eat a steak. I'd like to meet people without having them think I'm stupid. And the dentist said, well, I can do that. All I have to do is rearrange the landscape in your mouth, and I'm trained to do that. Let's see if we can't make that happen for you. And before that happened, he spent about 60 minutes with the patient trying to understand and listen to what he's saying. And you build trust. It's not rocket science, but you have to be personal. You have to be interested in these patients, and they will tell you the story of their life if you just listen.
Okay, some offices have treatment plan coordinators that present
Yes.
the treatment,
Yes.
and some dentists don't. I notice orthodontists have a far higher rate of utilization of treatment plan coordinators. Talk about that. You think
I tell you what, Howard, if you want to do really fine dentistry, and you can define that however you want, but if you want to do it in large amounts, um, the patient coordinator has got to be trained to do some specific things. Okay, let me give an example. Okay, so Howard, you and your wife are going to receive in the mail an engraved invitation to the next inaugural ball of the President of the United States. Okay, and the invitation comes in the mail. It's embossed, it's high quality, da 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 da, and you show it to your wife and you say, "Dear, we've been invited to the inaugural ball of the president." What's the first thing she's going to say to you? "I've got nothing to wear." And she's going to spend a lot of time and energy and money looking for the red dress. Okay? Now that red dress is going to set you back about 12 to 1500 bucks. And you ask her, "What's it like? Do you like shopping for the red dress?" "Yes." What has she got words in her head she's got words. She wants to look good. She wants to look good for you. She wants to make a good impression, and she's going to do it. And you know what? Most dentists charge $1,200, $1,500 for a crown and don't give the patient the red dress because they don't know what the red dress is, because they haven't listened to the patient to understand what the world they want. So the client coordinator is a woman. Let me tell you something. Women are intuitive, and they can read between the lines better than you and I can, even with an MBA. Okay? Listen to the women. Carol, my wife, and I can go out to a party with a bunch of people, and as we're getting ready for bed, she can tell me what happened. Okay? They are intuitive. They understand things that we never ever will understand. So this woman who's a client coordinator can spend 30 minutes with this new patient and know more about them than you ever will in a clinical exam. And the key is to merge the clinical exam, which obviously is important, with the non-clinical piece, and then you get to talk about something important called the non-clinical benefits and how these great procedures you do in your little black kit bag that you carry around by your side all the time can be applied to benefit this patient. And they will say yes to larger cases. But you have to know what the red dress is, and you have to take time to learn the red dress, and everybody's got one. You just have to ask good questions, okay? There's a whole set of questions that you ask, okay? And Howard, there's only 6 ways you can ask a question in the English language. Who, what, where, why, when, and how much. And there's one question you never ask. You never start a question out with the word why. You know why? Because when you were a little boy, your dad said, "How come you haven't mowed the lawn? Why haven't you made your bed?" your mother would say. Why? And it implies judgment, and that's not what we want in a dental office. So it is an art of asking questions. You don't tell people what they need. You ask them what they want and how they want it, and then you deliver it.
give us some verbiage, like how exactly how would they ask that? I mean, what?
Well, let's say we've got a patient who we learned because we've spent time with them is let's say he's let me just pick one here just out of the blue, a manufacturer's rep for Janssen Swimwear, let's just say, okay? He sells swimwear to Macy's, Nordstrom's, whatever it is, okay? And he's got to meet the buyer over here at Nordstrom, okay? And he needs dentistry to be done. And in the course of the conversation, a question might come up and say, "Howard, in your line of business, how important are first impressions?"
Very.
Chances are he's never really thought about that. Or if he's thought about it, he knows they're very important. "Howard, you know, if there's an area of your life that I could help you with on that, would you be interested in that?" And we begin a conversation basically asking questions about and getting the patient to say what he wants. You know, if making a better first impression will help him in his profession, and dentists are primary providers of first impressions.
I want you to talk about this fear because it's one that I have had my whole life, and I still have it because I don't know how to navigate around it. I mean, I never want to say to a woman, "Oh, have you ever thought about bleaching your teeth?" Because that's like her looking at me and saying, "Hey, have you ever thought about losing 50 pounds and wearing a wig and get a tan?" I mean, I don't. I mean, women are so objectified. I don't want to contribute to by saying, "Oh, you're a woman. You're an object. You should have whiter, brighter, sexier teeth. You want bleaching or veneers?" I just can't go there. I mean, like it's just like and no one's looking at me saying, "Dude, you should wear a wig or blah blah blah." So how do you do more bleaching or bonding or veneers? How do you find out if the woman already wants that, as opposed to a man trying to objectify a woman and telling her she should need that? Does that question even make sense?
A woman, much more easily than a man, will, if you give her the opportunity, will unwind her story to you, especially if it's in a private place with someone who's obviously behaviorally trained and who can set them at ease and feel that their trust is being honored. Okay, and so the conversation has got to be started from the dental office to get the patient to talk about their story and what's going on in their life that they'd like to have work better. Okay, and so you talk about that first. And is there anything that we could do to help you with that? And then the subject will turn to their teeth. And is there anything that you'd like to change about your teeth? You don't tell them, we can go to shade whatever it is and make your smile wonderful. It doesn't go that way. You know that. It's like the patient who's going to go south for the winter, and needs some dentistry done. How important, Howard, is it for you to have a really good experience down there in Florida at Christmas with the family and not have any problems with your teeth? Their mind never went there. It wouldn't go there on their own, but simply asking the question brings the patient to think about a picture in their head of how Christmas dinner is going to go and what might happen.
And that's funny you said that because that's my trick for a wisdom teeth. My favorite procedure for me personally is four wisdom teeth. Second would be molar endo, but I just love four wisdom teeth. And my big close is like, well, you can schedule to have those four wisdom teeth come out when you and I want to do it, or you can not schedule it, and then it's just going to blow up in your face, and it might be in the middle of finals week in college or whatever. So it's either we schedule it or the wisdom teeth will.
And that's a good way of doing it, but take that same thing and turn it into a question rather than a statement. And don't ask the word why, start out with how. How important is it, Howard, for you to have a benefit? You name the benefit, and let them think about it.
How would you reword that? So would you say, how important is it to you that you schedule the wisdom teeth to come out when you want them to come out?
No. How important, Howard, is it for you to avoid problems? How important, Howard, is it for you to avoid future problems with those teeth there in the back? They're impacted. They're causing problems. How important is it for you to avoid problems with those teeth at a time when maybe you're out enjoying yourself? And they'll say something. What do you mean? What do you mean? Am I going to have problems with those teeth? And the answer is, well, it looks to me like there are accidents looking to happen, or whatever the situation calls for. I had a patient here last week who, we had to get in on a Sunday because they were having problems with those back teeth.
So when I'm a big fan of your tweets, and I wish you would post those on Dental Town because you have just amazing tweets. And by the way, Dental Town just passed 200,000 members.
Wonderful.
We just passed 4 million posts, and
wow.
I think that your Jay White and Associates would get a ton of marketing if you would build an online CE course. We put up 325 1-hour-long online CE courses, and they just passed 550,000 views.
Wow.
So I would
Wow.
love to have a course up in there. But when I think of you, and I'm a big fan of your tweets and all that, and I wish you would multi-post those on Dentaltown, I just think of you as marketing too. You have a lot of marketing wisdom. How many new patients do you think a dentist really needs each month? The average dentist, what would you define the average dentist? One dentist, one hygienist, two assistants, two front desk. Is that about the average?
What I find amusing is that if you listen to what the people are saying out there, they can deliver you 100 new patients a month. And I think that would be absolutely the end of the world because you can't treat people. You can treat teeth, but you can't treat people in that huge number and do it one at a time. Okay? So we kind of do some research here in Minnesota. Let's see if I can say this correctly. The number of new patients per 1,000 patients of record
Okay.
is a good way of looking at it, okay? And before the recession, in our area here, that number was in the high teens, okay? And every year from 2008 down, it's gone down to where it's now about 7. Okay, and now that the economy is coming back, we're watching that beginning to increase. Okay,
So what would you say about it was about 18 new patients for every
18,
1,000?
18 to 25 would be a good number for a single dentist. Okay,
18 to 25 was in 2008 before
yeah,
Lehman's Brother collapsed,
yes, right,
and
yeah,
then it went all the way down to 7 new patients per
yeah,
1,000, and
yeah,
now you're starting to see that trending up.
that's exactly right.
And when was the bottom, and when did it start trending up?
Well, I would say it started coming up last year.
Last year.
It's just been recently, yeah,
Do you think
yeah.
the fact that if the stock market drops 20%, it's a bear market, and China's the 1/5 of the world, and their stock market just dropped 30%? Do you think that could have a material impact on the U.S. economy?
I do not. That's got nothing to do with it. And their stock market is so out of whack and under so many strange rules, it's not worth paying attention to.
So
Pay
that's
atten-
noisy because I want you to keep talking because a lot of dentists, when they have problems, they say, yeah, but Howard, the economy sucks. Obama's the president. They closed down the factory in my backyard. They always say everything, but the man in the mirror is the problem.
Well, there's a story about a gentleman who sell hot dogs on the street in New York City, and his son to Harvard and took marketing. And his son came home and told his dad, "Dad, don't you know there's a recession on?" And the dad closed his business for no apparent reason. It was just hearsay, okay? You have to drive your own business. You have to excite people about what they can get from you other than teeth, okay? I tell dentists the product that you have is the feeling the patient has in the parking lot after you deliver the procedure. Your product is not that funny little white thing you just spent a whole bunch of time learning how to put in their mouth. That is not your product. That is not your business. The business is the feeling. Well, goodness sakes, if it's a feeling, we can reverse engineer that to make it be what you want it to be. But the staff have to come with you. And that's why the personnel becomes such a big part of this thing, okay? Do you have to do marketing? Yes. Do you have to spend money on marketing? Yes. But if you're doing a new patient experience where you're getting to know these people's stories, you don't have to do as much marketing because these people feel trusted. They feel you trust them, okay? I went to school at Northwestern University before I went to the USC, and I had a great, world-known marketing professor by the name of Stuart Henderson Britt. He had a handlebar mustache, and he was an iconic figure. You know, he had more hair than you do. And he has a great quote that I'll never forget, okay? And it goes like this. Doing business without marketing is like winking at a girl in the dark. You know what you're doing.
Nice.
You know what you're doing, but nobody else does.
I like that. That's nice.
You can't do business today, can't do dentistry today without marketing. How much money should you be spending marketing? Well, it depends on how your case presentation goes and how you're doing your new patient experience. But, 2 to 10% is a good number. Now, in Minnesota, we have a little thing called Delta Dental. We do not worship Delta Dental, let me tell you, okay? And our dentists are writing off to Delta between 10 and sometimes 28% of their production. And I say to my clients, look, you're already spending 10 to 25% marketing already. You're giving it to the insurance company. If you could spend that same amount of money on marketing, you would be free of the insurance company. We have a gentleman who borrowed $250,000 and spent it all on marketing, 4-man group. The man is wildly successful. The problem we have in dentistry is marketing is not like doing a crown prep. At the end of 60 minutes, you're done. Marketing never stops. It requires repetition, repetition, repetition. There's a reason when you get home tonight and watch TV that you're going to see 5 ads for a Ford 150 pickup. And you're not even in the market for a Ford 150 pickup. But should you be, they want you to have Ford on the top of your head.
So do you do marketing? Is that one of your consulting services?
We are engaged in digital marketing. We find that it's much more effective than the traditional method of, magazines and postcards. And with digital marketing, you can see who you're communicating with. You can see the numbers of how good your ads are, and you can track them. So we do things with pay-per-click. We do Facebook marketing. Facebook is an absolute wonderful way of beginning to segment a market. The dentist who thinks he can most dentists do what's called spaghetti marketing. They throw something on the wall, and if something sticks, they stick with it. And that's not the way to do marketing today. You have to have a plan. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to plan it out. So we have a client over here in one of our suburbs who September, is the month to take a vacation in dentistry. I mean, September, the whole place falls apart in September. Nobody comes to the dentist office, and so take a vacation. Well, in the month of August, we decided to do a per-click marketing and Facebook marketing for Invisalign. And we did it through the entire city, and the client at the end of September and going into October had 30 new clients and did $20,000 more dentistry in the month following that, okay? And the ads that they ran cost about $400. It was not expensive.
So how many new patients should a dentist be getting? Did you say 18 to 25 per 1,000 charge?
It should be probably in the teens somewhere per 1,000, right?
In the teens, somewhere per 1,000 is a good range of healthy deals. Right. And so if someone wants to do a marketing program, that's one of the services you offer?
Yes, it is.
So name all the services you offer.
We do websites, and the important thing you know about websites.
You build the website. You create the whole website.
We create the website, and
do you host it?
Yes, we do. We host it, and the thing you have to know about websites is our websites are customized to our dentist, our client. It's not a customized knockoff website where you go to dental economics, you can buy a website for $400, and it's I can go to that website and tell you how many thousands of other dentists have the exact same website, and I tell you what, Google knows that before you do. And they rank you down in the rankings because they want something original, they want something current for their customers, and you're not that. So if you want to do really well in marketing, you need a customized website. Well, guess what? You need to know a little bit more about you, the dentist, in terms of, are you marketable? What is so wonderful about you that sets you apart from every other dental office? So we do websites, we do logos, we do the design of the website, and we do pay-per-click marketing once it's all set, and the SEO as well.
Okay, explain what pay-per-click marketing was. My job is to guess questions of 7,000 dentists from here to Kathmandu. What is pay-per-click marketing?
let's say, for example, you've got a website and you just put it out there, okay? Nobody knows it's there. Nobody. So how do you get recognized, okay? There's two ways. One is you can go to Google and you can pay Google some money, and they will, you can buy certain words, and you pay money for them, and there's a 24-hour-a-day auction going on words. So, for example, dentist, Minneapolis, dentist, Cottage Grove, Crown and Bridge, Fargo, North Dakota, and you pay some money for those words so that when someone clicks on those words or types those words into their computer, they will come, your website will be promoted on the very top of the page instantly.
Now, when you say pay-per-click, are you basically talking on pretty much 99% Google?
Well, Google's the big guy in town, and yes, that's where I'd spend money before I'd spend anything else.
So you wouldn't waste time on Bing or Yahoo or?
It's a second class place to go.
Yeah, you know Google's the winner when your grandma says, "Well, Google it."
Yeah, right.
I mean, so explain this, because you're a social media legend. I mean, really, you are really good at it. And these dentists are looking at stuff like what's worth their time. I mean, you have Facebook, you have Google, you have Twitter, Google Plus, you have Twitter, you have Instagram, you have I mean, shit. There's just so many social media sites. What ones should a dentist? Pinterest. Which one should a dentist focus on? What's not worth your time? What is something you can't leave and can't have a no-show presence on?
You know, the ones that are the most looked at, the most visited, are Facebook by far. And if you're a specialist, I would look into your I just lost it.
Twitter, Google Plus, Pinterest, Instagram.
Instagram is not quite where I would go.
Instagram, wasn't that bought by Facebook?
You know what? That's a possibility.
I think it was.
Yeah.
But what's the one the specialist should go to? Google Plus?
No. I'm just having a block in my mind here. Jay, come on.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is the one I'm saying. Yes.
Really?
You can't be a specialist. You can't be a specialist and not be on LinkedIn.
Well, why is that?
Because as you gather the people on LinkedIn who are other general dentists, you can communicate with them directly and not have to go through a receptionist. It's a direct piece of communications, and they have the ability to market to a targeted group of other general dentists.
Okay, I bet you out of 7,000 listeners, 5,000 don't understand one thing you just said about LinkedIn. So repeat what you just said to someone who's never been on LinkedIn.
Well, you join LinkedIn and you put a profile up on LinkedIn as to who you are and what you're all about, and then other people begin endorsing you for different things, okay? Endorsing you for cosmetic dentistry, endorsing you for management, endorsing you for a bunch of stuff. And as you get more endorsements, more people get to know you. But you can endorse other people as well. So you go out there and endorse other general dentists who are on LinkedIn. They are there, okay? And you begin to have a coterie or a group of followers on LinkedIn, and you can communicate directly to those people through LinkedIn, and they'll read your messages about continuing ed courses you might be putting on for your general dentist, about whatever training you're going to go to get specialized in implants or whatever it is, and they begin to then think you're wonderful, and you become the go-to person.
But you're saying that's for specialists.
Well, it's particularly good for specialists. I think general dentists could do it too, but I would spend more money on Google pay-per-click than I would on that for general dentists.
Okay, so we're at 55 minutes, so we got to start wrapping this up. I only got 5 minutes, so I want you to be more specific to. There's dentists listening to you. Most of my viewers are listening to this sound only. Okay. They're multitasking. Almost everybody I talk to has about an hour commute. In fact, the only complaint I really get on my podcast is that they have an hour commute to and from work every day, 5 days a week. They want 10 shows a week, and they're like, dude, you're only giving me 4 or 5 shows a week.
Yeah.
They want more shows. Driving to work. What are the best problems that you saw? This guy's driving to work. What are the best reasons that if they called you, you're really confident you could help them with this? What problems are they having that if they called you and gave you money, you could fix this problem?
We can help solve staff issues and build a team that's cohesive, coherent, and anxious to make things happen at the dental office. And we do that through making them an entrepreneur. I've done it for too long. It works every single time, okay? Number two, I would begin to learn about people and go to continuing ed on people's things, not clinical things, okay? Unless you're trying to expand your offering and you need some help on how to do implants, okay? I would learn how to do implants, but then you have to know about how to get people to want implants. And I would pay attention to the ability to make my staff feel like this is the place I want to work. It's a great place, and more than anything else, women want to be acknowledged and praised. The dentist typically only says when they're doing something wrong, and that's not the way to raise children.
And you said in the beginning that you've done this since 1971. What would you say to these young dentists? Say, is corporate dentistry going to take over? I mean, did I make a mistake becoming a dentist? I mean, is corporate dentistry going to take over dentistry, and it's going to go Walgreens, and every single independent pharmacist is going to lose their business and work in a chain like Walgreens?
Howard, there is always going to be a place for a private fee-for-service dentist. However, he's got to be able to say, this is what I value. It's a values-centered practice, not a values. It's a values-centered practice, and you've got to be able to enunciate what your values are. The answer is no. There's always going to be a private dentist. Right now, the corporate dentistry is expanding, and they're getting a lot of attention. But there will be people who always want a relationship with a healthcare provider and not just a machine where they go to where it's cheap.
So you've been doing this for what do we say? Figure 40 years.
210 years.
In 40 more years, what percent of the market do you think the big multi-state corporate chains have? What percent of the market do you think they have today, and what percent do you think they'll have in 10, 20, 30, 40 years?
Well, it's going to grow, and it's hard for me to say what the market penetration is right now. In our town here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the corporations are just coming in, and they're spending a lot of money on marketing, and they're single-handedly raising the salaries for dental assistants because you can't find them. But it's probably going to be more than 50%.
Probably about 50%?
Yep.
And you know why I think it's going to be 50%?
Why?
My son Greg always points out that lawyers went corporate first, and lawyers and dentist physicians, they all have 8 years of college, and they're like herding cats. And there were big law firms way back in the 70s or 60s that are still in business. And about half of the lawyers, there's 1 million attorneys, half of them work for the big firms and half of them work by themselves.
Right.
And Greg thinks that's the best predictor of where dentists are going to go. And I think he's right.
Well, those gentlemen or ladies who are going to be out on their own, who are wanting to be in charge of their own show, have got to find a way to publicly wave the flag above their office and say, this is who I am. This is what you can expect when you come to see me. It's not fast food.
Okay, and then my last question is, because I only got you for another minute, what's the best way to compete with corporate industry then? Just a relationship. You're not a chain. You're a human relationship. Is that what you're saying?
The corporates have no way of building a quality, long-lasting relationship with these people. They're not interested in it. They're interested in getting people in, getting out, and it's the teeth that are the important part. The private practice of dentistry is built on relationships, and you will have lots of people if you can do that well. I promise you.
And is there any middle of the road corporate? I mean, some dentists think, well, I can kind of compete with the corporate if maybe I get an associate and have extended hours, or do you think you're more have a more competitive advantage if you have an associate with extended hours, or do you not really see that in your practice where the rubber hits the asphalt?
There's some real technical issues behind that you have to kind of think about. Um, just having extended hours doesn't mean you're going to get more new patients. I have not seen that happen.
So the old adage, if you build it, they will come. You don't believe that just because. So a dental office that's been open Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5 for 25 years, if he gets an associate and blows open Friday and Saturday, that doesn't necessarily equate to more new patients.
Not doesn't right away. He has to be able to market those hours, and some people will come and some people won't. And hopefully he's got enough patient base so that he's already got patients who will come at those times, and he just expands the hours. But new patients won't necessarily come directly because of that.
And do you consult mostly in Minnesota, or do you take clients all over the United States?
We're primarily the upper Midwest at this point, but our marketing activities kind of can go almost anywhere.
So you'd be a value for any 50 states, but you're primarily
Yep.
And I follow a lot of your consultants. Do any of your other consultants would any of them be worthy of? Did you cover pretty much your consulting firm, or do you have any other consultants that kind of cover a core specialty that might be a good interview?
We have some people who are very good at just simply front desk training, especially if you got a new staff member coming in who needs to be trained on how to operate the front desk.
I mean, worthy of an hour podcast?
I would bet so. Yes. Yeah.
Then set them up. If someone you think can add value for an hour, I want to interview them because I'm a big fan of yours. A lot of my friends in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area know you like the back of their hand. They say nothing but great things about you, and I'm a big fan. And will you commit to maybe creating an online CE course on Dental Town for our 200,000 townies?
I would do that.
I think it'd be the best digital marketing you do.
Okay.
And our business model is, I got 50 employees, so if you put up for free, we'll do it for free. If you charge $1, we split it with you. That's our business model. So if you want it free, if you want charge whatever, we just split it. And and also to my viewers, I just want to make sure that in Dental Town, our business model is we give everything for free to the dentist, like the website, podcast, whatever. And then we make money on advertising, and those two departments are separated with like the Great Wall of China. Nobody's ever given me $1 to be on my podcast or to be in a column or anything I lecture about or whatever. Those are just completely 7 people do advertising, and the other 43 are fixing teeth and are doing a magazine or whatever. So, but I just want to thank you, Jay. I know you're a busy man. And thank you for all that you've done for dentistry. Thank you for serving our country in Vietnam War. And I'm your biggest fan. And thanks again.
Howard, thank you. You're wonderful. And someday we'll get some hair on the top of that head.
And next time I'm visiting a convent, maybe we'll do dinner or lunch or something.
I'd love it.
Okay. All right. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you, Howard.